Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Rachel Dykheis. I like to read a lot of books, so this is my September recap. I read 13 books in September, and I think only 2 of them were 5 stars. The rest were like 3 or 4, so there wasn't like bad books. It just not a lot of like hitting it out of the park, and I do blame Fourth Wing for that. Just because it's so good so that everything else doesn't feel as good. Okay, so this is the recap. I started by finally listening to a book that I feel like every blogger has recommended for a while, and you know what? It was cute. It was exactly what I thought it was going to be, because I am not a cozy mysteries person, or I don't love cozy. I like drama. So anyway, I finally read Legends and Lattes. Now I, of course, cannot find the photo of it. Love it. Love this journey for me. All right. So Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. So this was actually originally just a self-published, self-published. It was going around like TikTok and Bookstagram. It's cute. Okay. It's this ogre that she's an orc, so the green girl who had a military life and now is retiring, and she found coffee. So she's opening a coffee shop, and it's well written. It's delightful. I gave it 4 stars. It had all the cozy feels, but this is not one that you're going to go to for a great story. Okay. So yeah, if you like slow and whimsical and fantastical creatures, you might like that book a lot. It was cute. I don't know if I would read a sequel. It would have to be the timing would have to work out perfectly, but it wasn't. I liked it. There was a storyline. It was sweet. Yeah. So then I switched gears to Vampires of El Norte by Isabel Cañas. I read, what was it called? It's one of my favorites. The Hacienda by her. So I got it as book of the month, I believe last year around summertime, and I loved it. 5 out of 5 stars. Creepy, Mexican American history, or just Mexican history. So this is kind of the same vibes. So Vampires of El Norte, our main character was attacked by a creature, and then time goes by. There is a love story. The vampire analogy is super interesting, because you're not really sure, are these actual vampires, or are the Americans that are coming down to take everything from them, are they the vampires? Who is more evil? Yeah, I liked the characters. I liked the story. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars just because it didn't move quite as quickly as the Hacienda. But I did like it a lot. So if you it's kind of like historical fiction with supernatural elements, but it is creepy. So if you don't like creepy, you're not going to like this. But this is my August 2023 book of the month. So actually not that far behind on my book of the month, I don't think. I think I only have 2 that I'm behind. But I did just order my October box, and I got 3 add-ons. The add-ons are only $10.99, which is so much cheaper than getting a hardcover from Barnes & Noble, and they're all books that I know I'm going to want to read. Can't wait to show them to you. I should probably do a book haul. So yeah, maybe that will be coming soon. The next book that I read, so that was a 4-star. The next book I read was one of my only 5 stars this month. And it was recommended by Sharon Says So, who is my favorite. She's not really an influencer. She's a government teacher who presents government facts, politics as facts, and totally nonpartisan, which I super appreciate, because it's really hard to get information in the media that's not so left or right leaning, and not colored by that. So it's great to learn just enough about government, but not have it slammed down your throat. So I listened to Fever in the Heartland. She had a podcast with the author, Timothy Egan. So this is about the KKK and the rise in Indiana. So seriously, I think she said the book said like 1 in 4 white men in Indiana during this time were in the KKK, which is terrifying. Yeah, as I live like an hour north from there. Also super interesting, the main character. I cannot think of what her name is right now. I didn't write it down. The main character she's amazing. She takes down the KKK. I don't want to give the story away, but it's also history. So, she takes down the KKK after the leader like rapes her and like bites her all over, and it's just super gross, but it's true. So yeah. So she was a Pi Beta Phi. I'm a Pi Phi. So yeah, represent for Pi Phi. Also included, apparently Valparaiso University, where I went to college, almost was a KKK university. So yeah, my life would have been a very different trajectory. Probably wouldn't have gone there if it was a KKK school. Hopefully not. Hopefully it still wouldn't be. But just very strange. And obviously, like, it would have been great for them, right? To be able to like brainwash a bunch of people while they're in university. So the next book that I read was Working Stiff by Judy Melinek and TJ Mitchell. So this Judy Melinek is a medical examiner in New York City. So she like cuts up dead bodies, does autopsies. And this just happened to be in 2001 when she's doing her fellowship. So 2001 in New York City, 9/11, which was kind of like the last few chapters of this book. And I honestly like just didn't see it coming. I didn't tie it together. So she is quite graphic. So if you don't like to hear about dead bodies, causes of death, this isn't for you. I found it very interesting in the medical field. My book club friends were a little bit more turned off by the gore, but we all agreed that it was very interesting. It was well written. And just, I feel like any 9/11 memoir is so interesting to see different aspects of it. Especially now that it's been 22 years, like just bizarre. So I gave this one 4 stars. Yeah, it was great. It just was, I feel like a 5 star is like, this is the best book ever. So this was great. Highly recommend. Especially if you want to learn more about like autopsies and kind of the role of the medical examiner. We had a good discussion on this book because there's a lot of things that she did that didn't seem like, I never would have guessed that would have been like within their scope, like talking to family members, and like they had one family member that harassed her like every day for a year because she didn't believe that her son had overdosed. So yeah. So I don't know if the author didn't have boundaries or if that was really part of her job. All right, so then I was actually on a pretty good streak of reading at this point, and I read The Brothers Hawthorne. If you've watched my channel, you know that I love the Inheritance games. So it's 3 books: The Inheritance Game, The Brothers Hawthorne, The Hawthorne Legacy, and The Final Gambit. Very fast moving, like junior fiction. Like each chapter is like 1 or 2 pages. Or like, I guess like 1 to 4, like, so it moves so quickly. The clues and you get like satisfaction all the way through the book because you like get a clue and then you figure that out and then there's another clue. So the premise of the first 3 books is that our main character is Avery. She inherits like billions of dollars from someone that she doesn't know. So she has to figure out what the connection is, why she's been chosen, and there's also like stipulations. So she needs to live in this house with the brothers Hawthorne for a year. The brothers are grandsons to the billionaire who should have inherited and did not. So yeah, you kind of have to figure out why. There's some resentment, there's some romance. They're so good. I think I gave every one of them 5 stars. And I gave The Brothers Hawthorne 5 stars again. So this is kind of like still the same world, and kind of like where they're moving on to. So this followed specifically two of the brothers the most. And Avery was also in this. She just wasn't as much of a main character. So yeah, I highly, highly recommend these books. They're so, so good. And then I listened to Wretched by Emily McIntyre. This is a continuation of her Never After novels. This is like really dark. So this was like a Wizard of Oz retelling. So it's like the Wicked Witch of the West. Is our main character. She is helping to sell drugs with her father. It's called Flying Monkey. Not really likable character, which has been my complaint about all these books. Like she takes the villains and she gives them a love story. She doesn't make them likable, which I find a little strange. I want to like my characters. But yeah, they're still entertaining. I keep reading them. I like to see how she like twists the characters and makes them fit. So like making the like heroine out of poppies, which Wizard of Oz is super interesting. And then the flying monkeys, so they call the drug flying monkeys. Yeah, and there's a lot of other like tie-ins that are cool. Her sister is Dorothy and she hates her a lot. Just kind of evil. Yeah, and there's some smut. But yeah, I feel like these books are never going to get above a 3. Like, they're entertaining. I wouldn't really like recommend them, but yeah, they're entertaining. Then I read House of Hunger. This has been recommended to me as a creepy book, and it was. So our main character becomes a blood maid, which is where, what's her name? Marion. Yeah, Marion Shaw becomes a blood maid. So the main character, like, they're not vampires, but they drink blood, like, for youth. So it's not like they need it to live. Like, they drink it for youth. They drink it for power. They have all these different houses that are kind of competing with each other. It's just creepy. It's, like, creepy the whole way through. The main character is very likable. Like, I mean, yeah. I don't know why. I liked it a lot. I gave it 4 stars. You just kind of, like, close the book and you're like, that was creepy. Like, good Halloween vibes, I feel like. That's a good one. And then I read The Last Legacy, which I was disappointed by how this was marketed. So I have read Fable and Namesake, love them. So good. They're like, she's a jewel mage, so she can find jewels. They're like divers, pirates, like intrigue, like, but junior fiction, so it goes really quickly. So this was presented as Fable number 3 because I thought this was going to be like her daughter or granddaughter. It's not. This is like it's in the same world, but not in the same family or like even really the same city. So our main character, she's likable. She has been raised by her grandmother and is now being sent back to the family. She has to like find a way into the family. They are like traders, but they also do a lot of shady stuff. So she's got to find a way in, and then she's got to find a way to have like power over her own self. Yeah, I found it entertaining. I gave it 4 stars. I just was a little disappointed that there wasn't more of a tie-in to Fable and Namesake because I love this so much. Yeah, I love Adrienne Young. I feel like her books are exactly what I want them to be. Entertaining, a little bit of romance, like a little, like, not totally fantasy, but there's just a little element of supernatural that makes things a little bit more interesting. So I've actually owned that one for such a long time, and I just needed to read it. So I'm really happy to have that done. And then, this book has so many stickers on it. I don't know why Barnes & Noble likes stickers so much. So this book I have owned physically. I actually listened to it on audiobook because it was available, and I just was in my car more often. So I never even cracked the spine of this little bad boy. So our main character is supposed to be, her name is Anne Stillwell. She is supposed to spend her summer working in the Metropolitan Museum of Art. I believe for her fellowship or an internship. She instead gets recruited to work in the cloisters. They are looking for tarot cards that are supposed to prove that tarot was used like a long time ago, like in the medieval times. So it's like dark academia, there's murder, there's like, you don't know who's good and who's bad. It was entertaining. I gave this 4 stars. Yeah, I feel like it didn't feel very twisty because I felt like it was set up that you like knew what was going to happen. Like it wasn't that surprising. But it was still entertaining. Just like a book that as you're reading, you kind of know how it's going to unfold. It unfolds how you want it to unfold. The main character was enjoyable. Yeah. So, yeah, I gave it 4 stars. Again, it's like 3.5 maybe. I wouldn't like recommend it to everyone in the world, but it's good. It's entertaining. Then I read the last of the Mistborn trilogy. These are hefty books. So this book is, yeah, like 700 some pages. So it takes a minute. Like once I start, I really like them. They read quickly. It's just picking up a 700-page book and just knowing that that's going to be your life for the next few weeks. And sometimes I like to read a book in a few days. So I did read this while I was reading other books, which I think was the detriment of some of those other books as well. But Hero of Ages sums up the Mistborn trilogy. I do think that there are more in this series now, but this felt like it completed that story. So I think the rest are just in that world and kind of what happens after this. So our main character, for some reason, I cannot think of what her name is. Let me figure it out. Vin. Our main character is Vin. I don't feel like I can give away what happens in the other 2 books, but this did such a good job with tying up the loose ends. You get a lot of answers. It's so interesting the way that Brandon Sanderson wrote this as the bad guy ends up not being like super, super bad. There's just more, there's always more. Yeah, I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars just because it does tend to drag a little. It's 700 pages. It's still a very well done story. If you want to get into fantasy, this is a really great story to get into fantasy. He does really good world building. The main characters are super lovable. The lore is very interesting. Yeah, I highly recommend this series. And that is actually the first. So I read A Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan. The last few books are written by Brandon Sanderson. So I really liked how he took over that series. So I knew that I was probably going to like his writing. This is the first of his actual books that I have read, and I really like them. And then I read The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. The first book that I read is Dead. Something about being dead in a funeral home. I might have it loaned out to someone. Anyway, I really liked it. And so I wanted to read her follow-up book. This is a very fun premise. So her aunt's apartment, our main character's name is Clementine. Her aunt's apartment was left to her. And she was told growing up that every once in a while the apartment will flip back 7 years. So you just come back to the apartment and it's 7 years earlier. And it will be that way for a little bit of time. So it's normally during big life transitions, big things happening. So the aunt has passed. Clementine has her apartment. There are a lot of weird tense feelings about it, which doesn't really make sense until the rest of the story unfolds. And when she opens her apartment, it's actually her aunt's apartment. It's 7 years earlier, and there's a very hot man in her apartment. And so she goes back multiple times to this 7 years previous. She's falling in love with this man, and she's wondering why the heck in the future he has never contacted her. So yeah, it's a cute romance. It's deeper than you would maybe expect it to be. It was well written. I love the name Clementine now. I gave this 4 stars. yeah, I don't think it was as good as, what is it? It's like, I just want to figure out what the title of the other one is. Oh, there it is. The Dead Romantics. The Dead Romantics. So I really liked that one. That was great. This one just stepped down. So still super entertaining, cute premise, good romance. But you could either read this one first and then The Dead Romantics. Or if you only read one, I would read The Dead Romantics. It's very good. And then The Wisdom of Your Body is one that I read for book club. And I did not give it a rating because honestly, I just was not in the right headspace for this. And I think it's my fault. Yeah. The Wisdom of Your Body by Hilary McBride. I feel like if I was in the right headspace, I would maybe agree with a lot of this and I would have maybe done some of the exercises. I did not. I was feeling very cynical as I was listening to this, and I felt that the book was read as if talking to a child, and I did not love that. And I don't know, I don't really feel like my body's keeping secrets from me. So, #blessed. I am talking about this book in book club tonight, so probably could have waited and talked about this with people that enjoyed it and then given you more feedback about it, but this is what I have for now. And don't expect any follow-up. It's dead to me. No, I'm kidding. I did not rate it because I don't, like, how do you rate a book like that that's like self-help that you just weren't like clicking with? So that's that. So then the very last book that I squeaked in at the end, I feel like September I like started out reading really well and being really into it, and then just wasn't into reading. I feel like I don't have like enough attention span right now. It's very weird. I need to get it back. So hoping to finish 3 books today. I have an audiobook that I have like 2 hours left. I have a Sharon Says So book club book that I just need to read a few chapters in. And I have another like fantasy book that I've just been slowly chipping away at, and I just cannot get into it. So I think I only have like 50 pages left, so I'm going to go finish that. And I think it's actually like nice enough that I could go sit outside, which is so exciting in October. Anywho, the last book I read in September was Across the Green Grass Fields. This is another in the, I can never remember these, Every Heart a Doorway. So this was a new character that I don't think has been mentioned in any of the other novellas. So this is like and this, I don't feel like ever went back to, I feel like I must have missed a tie-in somewhere. I might have to read some comments. So there's a School for Wayward Children. Every Heart a Doorway is the first book, the novella. So that's centered on the School for Wayward Children, which are these children who go to like Narnia-like lands and come back, and they like can't reacclimate to the world. So their parents send them to this boarding school where they kind of wait for their door to come back. Some do, some don't. And this, so then each novella is kind of a different child that you've been introduced to, or it's like a spin-off of another one. So this, I felt it was a different child. I don't remember seeing her. She is an intersex character, so it kind of plays with like gender and what is gender. And then she goes to a horse world where people are horses, unicorns, centaurs, and they don't really, but it's like a little Wizard of Ozzy as well. I don't want to give too much away. It was entertaining. I gave it 3 stars. And these books are really nice when you just have like a few chores to do and you want to like crank out a book because they're like 3 or 4 hours long, the novellas. So that's what we got. That's my September reads. So yeah, I feel like, so my 5 stars were this one and Fever in the Heartland. And just like ones that were like, I mean, Creepy Good Time, if you're looking for some good October reads. And I mean, just fantasy. So good. So good. Maybe if you're jonesing for some fantasy after Fourth Wing. But also, if you read Fourth Wing and you just want to read something as good, I have not read it myself, but I used this advice on my sister and she agreed. So she was desperate for something after Fourth Wing, and I was listening to the podcast and they recommended The Divine Rivals. So I told her she should read that. She did. She said it was so good. So I have that ordered. So that is coming in October in my book, or in my book box. And she said it was so good. And she's sad that the next one's not released until like November. But hey, I feel like the second Fourth Wing and the second Divine Rivals are both coming out in November. It's going to be such a good month for reading. Which is nice because that's when it starts to get cold and yucky. So, yay, Michigan. And yeah, that's what I have. I could probably do a book haul video next. I got some books recently. And I can't say no to books. And then I will see you for my October wrap up. So, have fun reading!